Skid was born in Oxford, North Carolina. He lived most of his life there during a military base and was impressed with parading and close order drills. Later in life, he learned to play the drums from a mail order catalog, the Sears catalog. He also played a trombone. Let's see, Skid and his wife moved to Mattapoisett in 1899. His barber shop was in 3 different locations before he finally settled in the shop located on Main Street, which is Jody's barber shop today. For every parade, Skid wore a tall red, white, and blue hat and waved an American flag. He would beat his drum up and down the streets of Mattapoisett. That sound brought out the kids to follow him like the Pied Piper as he marched through the streets.
Second house.
Second number?
No, it's number 5. It's after this one.
Not the John.
Nope.
We can stop right here for a minute. It's this one right here on the right.
On the right. On the left.
I mean on the left.
All right, your left.
Right, the right.
Your left.
The other left.
Halloween was also another special time for him because he would have a parade where all the children would follow him through town, again like the Pied Piper. He raised so much money for the American Legion, and in gratitude they gave him a beefsteak dinner at a time when beefsteak was as rare as wood violets were in January. Upon receiving the American Legion Citizenship Award and medal, he stood up, took a bow, and in his best voice rendered Old Black Joe. Skid's accomplishments in this town are too numerous to mention. However, if you go to the Historical Society, you can find out more information about the black man who so beloved his townspeople. In 1954, he died, and at age 75, he was buried in Pine Island Cemetery, which will show you that. Along this road, I believe we passed him now, is number 13, where Reverend Eric Peacock lived, and also the summer home of Mr. and Mrs. George Harrington. And number 18, every day Mr. Harrington, who was a banker from Rhode Island, dressed in a suit and necktie, walked into town for his morning paper. He always wore a pair of white gloves and he carried a cane. Pine Island Road is also where many of the Dexter families lived. It was also called Dextertown at one time. 2 of the Dexter sisters who had first names that were unusual were Virtue and Azuba.
And you know, Bob, I
Yes.
remember Skidmore because I was in grammar school at center school.
Yeah.
And he led our bicycle field day parade.
Really, yeah.
And we were just so impressed because he had that big wheel and
Yeah.
the little wheels in the back, and he was all dressed.
They say
and
it was really
the
quite the
biggest
character.
thing every
Yeah.
May to have bicycle field day.
They say a big part of this town died when
Oh,
he
I
passed.
know. It was
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
It was very, very nice.
Joseph Hill, known as Josie. He was well known in the Quaker circles, and on Halloween he gave out popcorn and pomegranates. Matter of fact, we had one of the ladies in our last tour who got the pomegranates and agreed they were very sour pomegranates. Also directly ahead is the house, or the home, or was the home of Dorothy Fox. For 30 years she was the town librarian. She was known to all who entered as Fox.
Father was a dark.
Okay, this road's going to take us to the Cedars and finally to Crescent Beach. The Henshaws lived just off this road. Valentine, known as Val, and his wife Leona had a fish market here and a small takeout located directly on the town wharf. It's going to be a bit down the road, but as we pass the Cedars on the right, with a small colony of summer homes, there is a curve where Prospect Road becomes Angelica, and known at one time as Angelico Road. And as we come up here on number 57, and it's a bit yet to come up, Carol Chase, who actually put this, she came from Crescent Beach and put this together for her. That's where she was born and raised. So again, it's a great source of history. Yeah.
The White House up here with the blue shutters on the left-hand side.
She is. She's not doing the other one. She's on the other bus. Yeah. She's raised in this house right here. It's a wonderful lady. I know Chippy Chase is her son. I know Chippy Chase is her son. The scene is on Chippy Chase is one of his sons.
One of her. Yeah, right.
Okay, as we pass the Cedars on the right, we'll get to the Cedars. Yes, we have. Okay, after the curve, The first piece of property on the left was the summer home of Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes. He served for 17 years as an Associate Justice on the Supreme Court in Massachusetts. 3 years of his 20-year tenure, he was the Chief Justice. Theodore Roosevelt appointed Mr. Holmes to the Supreme Court in Washington, D.C. There he stood for 30 years and became as the Great Dissenter. He was often at odds with his fellow justices and was capable of eloquently expressing his dissents.
Yeah, move down just a little
Yeah.
bit.
Stop us up here a little.
Chief Justice Holmes bought approximately 95 acres of land and a home on Crescent Beach. One half of the house was occupied by a farmer who had the water view of the house. Justice Holmes and his wife Franny Dixwell lived in this home for 12 years until the fateful day in 1888 when Bob Dexter, which was a practice back then, they would burn off their fields because of a lot of undergrowth. They would burn off the fields to get a better crop the following year. When he was burning off the field, it got away from him and just totally destroyed the house. But the stone barn remained and survived for quite a few years until again it just slowly fell into a pile of rubble. The property was then sold to Lilburn Hiller in 1906. During the time that Justice Holmes summered in Mattapoisett, he took great delight with sailing with his friends from Neds Point. And as we come along, I don't know if we passed the first one or not yet. We head up a little bit if you want. On this side is Oliver, Wendell, and Holmes Street. Actually, Silver Shell and Beach Street. The building to your right, and Craig will point it out to you.
Okay, if you look across, kind of that way, there's a house sticking up with 4 windows above the, can you see it? That was Raymond Stoll. Raymond Stoll.
It was Raymond's store. Inside this store you could buy just about anything. But the attraction for the kids was the ice cream freezer with a large candy case that was filled with every kind of candy imaginable.
Also, there was
It's another block up.
a hurdy-gurdy man here who would take pennies and nickels and whatever, and he had a little monkey with him. The monkey would tip his hat, take the money, and throw it in a cup. And he also at times had a parrot. And the parrot would grab your money with the beak and put it in a cup.
There was a Mr. Gardy. Every year he would drive here with a station wagon and would roll up the canvas curtains on the side of his station wagon. He sold every type of fresh vegetable there was. Warm raspberries, blackberries, and strawberries. For 2 years in the 20s, there was a tea house to the right side of Beach Street called Raymax. Ethel Raymond and Nellie McCole ran this small business.